Now, here at the Sunday Politics, we think we've spotted a new retail trend, and it's not one you might expect because across the country, local authorities are spending hundreds of millions of pounds buying shopping centres. Now, it seems that the idea is that they can earn money from rent while attracting investment to our struggling town centres. The latest acquisition has been made by Shropshire Council, which is using an offshore trust to finance the deal. But the authority has come in for some criticism from those who say high street shopping will soon be a thing of the past. Joanne Gallagher has been investigating.
Could shoppers be the answer to cash-strapped Shropshire Council? Over the next 5 years, they have a funding gap of nearly £60 million. To bridge it, they're spending £51 million on 2 shopping centres in Shrewsbury. They're also taking over the lease of the Riverside Centre. The council leader, a former shopkeeper himself, says he thinks it'll be a good deal.
If you look at our next year's budget, you will see that there is a figure of 2.7 million in there, which is actually the profit next year. The main reason we've done this deal is because we want to shape the redevelopment of the Riverside in Shrewsbury, which was built in the 60s. It's a tired, run-down looking area, and it's the gateway to the shopping in the town, and we think we can do a lot more with the area than has been done previously.
But critics have questioned the investment at a time when more and more is done online rather than on the high street.
It's foolhardy, it's high risk, and I think that people will come to regret it. We know that traditional retail is in decline. We know that lots of people are getting out of the business, and we also know that there's great risk involved in what Shropshire Council have decided to do.
Shropshire Council's not the only local authority to invest in centres like this. In fact, over the past 2 years, 15 local authorities have been on shopping centre spending sprees. They've spent £570 million in total. But are council taxpayers happy to buy into it?
I think it's disgusting. Where have they got the money from?
I suppose it can only be good. Hopefully they'll run it well.
Not very happy really, because I don't know where they've found this extra money from to buy such a big purchase.
Well, I've been disappointed seeing this place sort of falling apart over the last few years. So, yes, I would say yes. I mean, something's got to be done.
Shropshire Council's also been criticised for buying the centres through an offshore trust in Jersey. They say using the tax haven delivers value by saving millions in stamp duty. Good business sense or sharp practice?
The bottom line is that if this were a company avoiding paying stamp duty, then we would be branding it as immoral. But in this instance, the money's staying in Shropshire Council's coffers to provide services to the people of Shropshire. If they'd have paid that stamp duty, it would have gone to central government and then been swallowed up in the coffers of central government.
The authority got the centre keys on Tuesday. They'll be managed by a separate company, but whether they'll be a success remains in the balance.
Going to have that in your head all day now. That was Joanne Gallagher reporting. Eddie, Walsall Council are also doing this, aren't they? They've bought the Sadler's shopping centre. What do you think of it?
I thought it was a bit of a reckless purchase myself. I don't think we know enough about the details, so I submitted a Freedom of Information request back in November to get some more of the details. I haven't had a response to that yet. But it doesn't feel to me the answer to the council's problems. They don't know enough about shopping centres to be running them. They should be focusing on just delivering high quality local services to people.
But your Conservative colleagues in Shropshire, they seem to think it's a good idea, don't they?
I'm a regular visitor to Shrewsbury. My mother-in-law lives there, so I know that shopping centre well. And it feels like quite a dramatic risk to take, and I can't comment on it in terms of the details there. My focus is on Walsall, and I think the council are acting recklessly with residents' money.
What do you think, Khaled? Is this a sort of a dodgy step? Because, you know, we've seen in Birmingham the council actually selling off its share of the Grand Central shopping centre.
Well, I think what we should be doing is investing in our local centres, because when they're allowed to go derelict, the whole place goes down. And the more you give to the private sector, the more abuse they make out of it. So I think investment and setting up cooperatives by the local authorities to be able to deal with them, as long as you've got proper accountability and be able to manage that properly, and that should be held to account by the politicians. I think it's a good thing, and I think also, having seen Carillion the way they've gone, I think we need to bring more services back in to local authorities to be able to manage it, and not for profit, but actually doing it for the people of the borough that they live in.
So you're quite supportive of this Conservative plan in Shropshire then. What do you think of the offshore element to it, the way that they've purchased it?
Well, I think generally, if it was a private company, I'd be very, very concerned. But if it's staying in the local authority, and they're accounting for that, I think that's fine. And I think what people have got to work is a bit more smartly to be able to put more resources in, because this government's making a huge amount of cuts. So if you can get around that and bring more money back into the local authority, I think it's a good idea.
And that's a fair point, isn't it, Eddie? We've had a lot of local authorities under
interesting endorsement for the use of offshore trust by
Indeed.
Yeah.
But, you know,
I
local
think
authorities...
Kelly does most of his shopping online.
Well,
or certainly lots of people watching this
is it
programme
not
will
fair
shop
enough?
online.
Is it not fair enough for councils to be looking for new revenue sources when, as Khaled says, they have been under huge pressure for 7 years now, 7, 8 years now?
Is the answer to that huge pressure really to go recklessly spending money on a declining market?
It's about regenerating.
People are shopping less.
It's about regenerating. Well, look, we've got a huge example just over our shoulder in the Bullring. We've got over 27 million visits a year coming to that. That's because of regenerating investment made that into Grand Central and also in the mailbox where we are now. And that's huge investments that were made, supported by the local authority.
We've got a lot of empty units in there. We've got empty units and possibly a shopping centre that's going to need a lot of capital.
Also, it could be an opportunity as well, because Grand Central, the old Pavilion shopping centre, bought by the local authority for around £90 million, sold for over £300 million, having been redeveloped, because the council was able to attract investment.
In certain cases it could possibly work, but I'm being a bit parochial. I'm looking at what Walsall Council have done with the Sadler's Centre, and I personally think it was a gamble too far with people's money.
Okay, thank you to you both.